And we are live here on Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel. My name is Tony Vicinda. I'm Chief Alchemist here at Plus One EXP, which is a weird little brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard, and skincare alchemy in the Bardic College of Content Creation. As always, our hope and desire is to help amazing designers find great players who love their games and help amazing players find great designers whose games they can love. We do that in a lot of different ways, but the most fun way is sitting down with those designers to play those games, and that is what we are doing today with DeathGrind, exclamation point, mega structure. DGMS, DeathGrind Mega Structure, is a Together We Go game. So it came out in our recent Together We Jam over on itch. It uses our house OSR system, but takes it in a completely different direction. And it was written by Josh, who's going to be running it with us today. Josh, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, and tell us a little bit about DeathGrind Mega Structure.
Yeah, sure. Hi, hello. I'm Josh. I make tabletop stuff, primarily over on itch at Ostrich Monkey or Ostrich Monkey Games. DeathGrind Megastructure is a Blame, so the manga series by Tsutomu Nihei, inspired game. So it is like far funky future. Transhuman, post-human, exploring the titular megastructure which is more likely to grind and kill you up than anything else. So, this is a kind of setting where the boundary between, virtual, physical, data, and flesh is effectively non-existent. Sentient viruses, the ever-encroaching fractal death machine, in all caps, all one word, was to just consume everything. So there's a lot of wild things happening, big scale, big things, horrible things.
Awesome. And you can go check it out over on Josh's itch, which I dropped a link to in the chat. But if you would like a physical copy or a physical copy and a digital copy bundled together, we are doing pre-sales for that right now in a collaboration over on our site. You can go to ttrpg.link/DGMS. That's like DeathGrind, Megastructure, and pick up a physical copy of the game. We're going to print those in a couple of weeks. There'll be copies in our shop, as well as we're going to send some over to the folks at Exalted Funeral as well, because they asked me for some. And I'm very excited to partner with Josh and Ostrich Games on getting that print out into the world, because it is a physically beautiful game, very well laid out, and using Lone Archivist's vector pack, which we make a lot of use of for Through the Void also too. So I love seeing that pulled out and put into this game also too, and it really captures the feel. The prints will go out sometime next month whenever we get them back from Mixum, but you can go pre-order one right now if you'd like. If you just want the pure digital copy, though, go head over to Josh's itch, pick that up. If you pick up the bundle over on our site also too, you'll get the PDF today as well, and then the rest of it will come in when it gets printed. Because I was actually able to make the website work in time this time around. Speaking of being on that death grind, let's meet our other players. Number one death grinder, Keegan EXE. Keegan, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, where they can find you online?
Hi, I'm Keegan EXE. I'm the world's #1 death grinder, apparently. I'm also an indie game designer. You can find me online at keeganexe.com or on Twitter at keeganexe. And I think that's it for me.
Awesome. And bringing that international death grind flavor at the intersection of an American surrounded by the French, the pseudo-Italian, and the Spanish. We've got Alex Kingsley. Wait, what was that? You're like, whatever. Bringing all that international death grind flavor.
It's because I'm not the #1 death grinder. I'm apparently #2.
You're maybe Keegan's #1 in the U.S. and you're #1 in Europe, and this is where we find out who's the #1 in the world.
I will remind everyone that on the initial tweet, I'm tagged.
Keegan did try to lay down ownership of this game very early on. Alex, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, what it's like to be the #1 European death grinder?
I will do that. All of those things. My name is Alex Kingsley. I use they, them pronouns. You can find me on the internet at AlexyQuest on Twitter, and I'm also a game designer, so alexyquest.itch.io. I got some games on there. I work with a production company called Strong Branch Productions. We write a comedy podcast called The Stench of Adventure that just started its 2nd season. You can put it in your ears and listen to it and have a good giggle. And that's me. I'm excited to grind death.
Awesome. We always use a couple different tools when we're here on stream, and those are lines, veils, the X card, and the open door policy. Lines and veils. Lines are things that may happen in the world of our game, but don't happen in the course of our play of it. We have a strong line against sexual violence on the channel. Veils are things that may happen in the course of our game, but they're handled specifically. We don't necessarily linger on them. We may fade to black, flash forward, or address something only within a specific context. Does anybody have any lines or veils that they want to add, given the tone of the game? And then maybe, Josh, are there any caution warnings that you want to provide for people?
I mean, the game is in the title, DeathGrind, so violence is going to come up. I don't think we are going to dwell on it too much. I'd say this is a strong PG-13 to soft R rating on that scale. We're not going to get too wild and woolly unless you would like to. Aside from that, I don't think anything too particular might come up.
Maybe mild body horror, given some of the abilities.
Yeah, I'd say some body horror. Mild body horror.
And then if you don't like brutalist architecture, just don't create it in your brain space. But it is what we're playing in, also too. Yeah.
Awesome. Never leave DC.
Any other lines or veils people want to add? Cool.
No, I'm good.
You also have access to the X card, which is the ability to stop the game at any point in time, identify if there's an issue, clear it up, whatever it happens to be. You don't have to explain it, just name what it is, and then we'll move forward in a different direction. Also, we have an open door policy, which means we may eat, drink, stand up, move around, talk to somebody really quick, because we're normal human beings. We do normal human being things, and hopefully you're a normal human being also, too. But if you're some sort of transhuman program inhabiting a mechanical body watching this stream, this is a great stream for you to be on, because some of us are that also too, as characters. So with that said, I'm going to hand things over to Josh to take us into DeathGrind Megastructure.
Sure. Well, speaking of characters, would we like to start with a brief character introduction so we can see who our cast of players is?
As long as I don't go first, because I didn't think about what my character actually looks like. I just picked abilities.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, no, I have no idea. Aesthetically, I'm blank.
Excellent. Alex, why don't you start off?
Okay, great. These are just going to be words that come out of my mouth on the fly, because I also didn't aesthetically design my character, but I did name them. Their name is Crunchy878. Their pronouns are they/7. And to be clear, this is not a joke about neo pronouns. I just think it would be really cool to have 7 as your pronoun. And I'm genuinely thinking about it. Crunchy878 is a human being / computer program that one time. Hold on, I have to check this with realized that they just really loved consuming information. It was an accident at first, like consuming like literally as food. It was an accident at first in this sort of like cyber world, and got really hungry for like bits and things. I've decided that they have a little like crunchy snack that they carry around with them that's kind of like digital potato chips. It's called Bits. And they also have a pet mouse that's actually this light emitting swarm of little like computer mice that kind of fly around 7 at all times. I'm imagining kind of a person shape, but the head is replaced with like a blue like circuit board. That's what I'm imagining.
Awesome.
That was a messy description. I hope that works.
That was a good
that was a much better description than us, and now I regret having you go first.
I don't. Keegan, go ahead and hit us up
I
next.
was thinking, oh God, I should not have gone first.
Keegan, go ahead and hit us up next. What do we got?
Yeah. I'm playing as Sticky Pingy. They're just sort of like a featureless mannequin. That's it. I don't have much else going for me here. They use they them pronouns.
Awesome. I am playing. You see, kind of this like cloaked, hooded figure that has these long, kind of silvery legs and like almost undulating arms come out of this formless, kind of ragged, like dark gray cloak. You can see a one eye kind of shining bright red behind there, but other than that, a largely kind of humanoid face. I'm playing Tovu. Tovu's pronouns are he/form. Because Tovu has a background as a form shaper, which means that my body's going to look a lot of different ways during the course of our play of this game. And so, because that's a lot of the abilities I took, as well as my background allows me to reshape mine or someone else's body once per session. Which I'm very into. I've got, I think, a gravity railgun strapped over one shoulder and kind of a long filament spear in my hand. I look very much like somebody who is prepared to travel outside of the city enclave. Though this is my first time to ever leave, I just look like it. I have zero chill as far as any of that goes.
You know, they say dress for the job you want, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Or, you know, inhabit a form for the job you want. So the megastructure, which is known by those who inhabited the tower, is a, well, megastructure. It is the length of an entire galactic arm, just this massive and ancient man-made structure. And hurtling through the center of it is the city enclave, which is this habitat where a lot of people live in some way. It is on a legendary and sort of mythical collision course with the far end of the tower megastructure known as the Apex. And as it makes its way through the megastructure, it breaches these different barriers between the layers, the units of the tower themselves. Every time this happens, there's massive tremors that shake the city enclave, which was never designed to be a habitat in the first place, but here we are. And I think we open up, you know, with the screeching of metal on metal as the tremor shakes through this habitat, signaling the arrival into a new segment, a new layer of the tower, and providing a short window of opportunity for those brave and foolhardy enough to leave the city enclave and venture out into the unknown of what they will face. So I'm kind of imagining that there's these like giant spear cannons or something that sort of shoot out from the city enclave with like almost like little escape pod type things that just punch into the walls or wherever into this layer. And that is how you actually arrive here. Kind of like drop pod style, but there's a, you know, big massive cable attached to this thing. And hopefully, you know, you'll exit the same way you came in, but who knows what'll happen. Outside this layer, the section of the tower is characterized as a brutalist layer. So these reaches are dominated by ancient, sprawling superstructures built by the equally ancient architects. These are the same people who built the megastructure for whatever purpose they had in mind millions and millions and millions, if not billions of years ago. It's far, far, far lost to time. So a brutalist layer, you know, according to the legends, the rumors, you know, the survivors, is filled with these architect relics, powerful artifacts, as well as all sorts of strange secrets into the nature of the tower itself, perhaps the city enclave, and maybe even of the ever-encroaching fractal death machine, which is always just one step behind the tower, the city enclave, in its unstoppable, all-consuming journey. So this layer, it is filled with crumbling concrete, sheer surfaces, sort of endless stairs. It can vary between very dark, very light. The mechanisms that sort of operate this section seem to be kind of on the fritz at any given time, so it's very unpredictable out here, and all sorts of strange dangers await you to grind you up. So, have the three of you ever perhaps met before on the City Enclave, or is it just you're on the same bus ride effectively?
We're in the same giant spear being shot into the
Right.
lair. Yeah, I'm happy to presuppose a relationship with anybody. I do like the idea of like we all happen to just be in the same tip of the spear.
I think I've probably met Tovu before, if only because I think Tovu has changed my form at one point.
What was your form before I changed it?
There's no telling.
I also feel like I've met Tovu at one point. I don't I don't know why what first came to mind was like a sort of dealer situation.
Everybody needs a hit from Tovu. Everybody's like, look, I'm not feeling it right now, Tovu. I just need you to change the way I look. Form begets function. Can you make me can you make me look how I want? I like that. That's fine.
Cool.
And in order to get my cool circuit head.
Okay.
I was like, come on, I'm bored with the head that I have, which was also not a human head, I don't think. I think it was a totally different head. So I think we've met in passing.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm the local barber, essentially, but I reshaped flesh.
You've been slowly annihilating my form until I'm just a mannequin.
Right. Yeah, changing your form is effectively just like putting on a different t-shirt. It's like, it's not a big deal, right? I love the just mundanity of comparing it to the local barber.
Yeah.
Completely reshaping someone's structure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but I don't remember them at all. Which just means they,
100%.
they weren't good tippers, I guess.
Oh, oof.
Oof. Ow.
I think my mice left some droppings.
Oh no.
What sort of droppings do data mice leave?
They're like little periods. Ones and zeros.
Little strings of code.
Yeah, I gotta clean up this binary.
Brush them off my shoulder.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, y'all want to lead the way?
Yeah. Those who voyage into the deep layers of the tower can have any number of objectives. The most common one is to get stuff. Resources can be limited. Occasionally you need credits to buy a cool thing or to afford to go to your local form barber again. Others might have more personal drives or intrinsic goals or drives. Maybe you just want to see what's out here, uncover some secrets, things like that. But whatever it is you seek is probably going to be further within. I think like your sort of spear pod has dropped you off at like this massive staircase that just kind of disappears up like into the fog. There's like a cloud system up in here, and also far down below you can see like whizzing kind of like elevator platforms sort of just zipping around, just incredibly dangerous speeds and things like that. So what's up?
Is there anything particular that we know the city is short on right now that we should keep an eye out for?
Mm-hmm. I think the city enclave is always looking for various like raw resources are useful just to build stuff,
okay.
And also useful data. So the city enclave itself, while technically a habitat for countless thousands, if not millions of lives, was never designed to be one. It's all like people just started living there. So it's very like slapdash secondhand. Things always need to be repaired. The structure of the city itself is always moving and shifting, so buildings and things get knocked down nearly as quickly as they are rebuilt. And maybe you just owe cash to the wrong person as well, right? There are all sorts of interesting groups and individuals who might take advantage of people. So
awesome. Yeah, I'll we'll pop the hatch with the tip of my filament spear and kind of shuffle out, trying to look confident. I think for Tovu, like a big part of this is like going out onto different layers gives me inspiration for new forms. Like I am literally form collecting.
Oh yeah.
As always. Oh, sorry. No, you go ahead.
No, you started first. That's on me. You go.
It's always hard with video calls. As always, let me know if I'm doing something that's like you're breaking the game. That's not how this works. Because I will accidentally do that. But since I'm very committed, I've committed to this idea of the character who lives off consuming computer data. I like the idea that they're just out here looking for a yummy snack. They're like, I have been tired of the data in the city enclave. I want something a little spicy.
I also love that this is a grounded character choice for you pretty consistently, because I think the last Together We Go character you played was like, I eat spleens. Yeah,
that's true. That's true, because I was just like a bloodthirsty little monster.
I do love spicy data though.
I'm gonna say it's actually the same character, but like digitized.
Years later in the mega structure.
This is the cinematic universe.
Right. It's all connected.
So 7 is like very casual about this. They're just like, yeah, I don't really care. I got my mice with me. Danger, whatever. I'm hungry. Crunching on little computer bits.
Cool.
I think Sticky Pingy is here because I love this name. I think they're here because they heard there's some sort of like ancient mechanism like deep within this level that they want to go see.
Yeah, for sure. I think honestly, all three objectives line up rather neatly, given that this sort of layer, there's just a lot of still extant remnants of the architects. So whether you're looking for new and interesting forms to sort of copy, or very spicy data, or all sorts of secrets, this is the place to look for it. And yeah, I think the main decision is just sort of what direction do you want to go in. You can kind of go up this massive staircase into like the cloud layer down below. You can try and hop onto any of these like zinging past elevator platforms. Maybe you just decide to go in a completely different axis of direction because you can somehow. The tower is your oyster, so to speak. You just gotta crack it open.
Yeah, I'm gonna just kind of head up. I think I'm going on foot. Like I could switch into a different form and do weird stuff, but I'm also like at some point I'm gonna need to do that for better reasons than just getting upstairs. So I think I'm poking at a lot of things with my spear as we go, and just kind of like I'm less like code fishing or anything else. Like it's very physical. So like as I'm like poking at things that are crumbling and like just like chipping little bits off of them and then like pausing, looking, seeing what I think about them, and then just like, no, that's not it, and just keep on going.
I've decided just now that Crunchy was it 787 or 878? Hold on. 878. That Crunchy 878 mostly speaks in computer sounds, but it's very clear what they're trying to say. So as Tovu is kind of like poking around at things, Crunchy is gonna kind of gesture to look at it's Sticky Pingy. Is that
Sticky Pingy? Yep.
Sticky Pingy. That's such a good name. It's gonna kind of look at Sticky Pingy and point at Tovu going up the stairs and be like, "Bibbidi boop bop."
Yeah, we should follow them.
whoop up. And just kind of follow up the
Perfect.
stairs.
Yeah.
And my mice are swarming, are also checking things out, but they're kind of like swarming around me like a bunch of flies.
Yeah, it's just fantastic. So it sounds like Tovu taking the lead, everybody else following, looking for interesting things. I was going to ask this a little earlier, and then I kept getting distracted. Is there an origin to the name Sticky Pingy, or is that just what your brain gave you today? I gotta ask.
There is, but it would take way too long to explain it.
Okay.
I know this half of the story. Keegan wrote Sticky Pingy on Twitter. Riley said something, and I said character name for today's stream. That's what I know.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah, it goes back.
I find this really specifically funny. This will be very brief, I promise. But Sticky Piggy was the name of a fictional drug that we invented for the Stench of Adventure universe. So I'm finding it so funny. This name is following me.
Keegan is because we're gonna make everything canon in this. Keegan is the future of that drug to turn into a sentient reality.
Yes.
You know, like so
all happen in the same universe.
Crossovers left and right. I love it. Great. So I think Tovu, as you're taking the lead, sort of making your way up these stairs, which are clearly not to like a typical humanoid scale. You know, everything just seems magnified. So there's a lot more climbing involved as opposed to just walking up some stairs. But given sort of the crumbling nature of everything, hand holds, feet holds, whatever limb holds you might have are easy enough to find.
I'm like using my filament spear, which is a thing I just wrote down. You had Spear of the Architects, and that's what I was thinking of. But I think it's got like a long nano filament on it that I can use as rope. So I'm like literally like tossing it up one's thing, and then like grabbing the filament and like pulling myself up with the handholds.
Nice. Perfect. Yeah. So I think mostly because you are in the lead and seem to be at least really digging into stuff, poking about. Under like a layer of some of this concrete, you find what looks like kind of like a conduit of some kind, but it's like lit up, like a LED would or something, almost like a neon tube. That's kind of the analogy I was looking for. And, you know, you see kind of poke in and out of the concrete as, you know, you follow it up. And then a little ways away off of some like platforms and sort of just odd structures off of this staircase. It looks like there's something kind of following that trail through the concrete. Sort of this almost orb structure made of like interlocking plates that are kind of shifting around. It's slightly holographic, so you can see through it a little bit. And it doesn't seem to have noticed anybody right now, but just given the way it's going, and it's like literally following this sort of like trail that's beneath this concrete surface, it's probably only a matter of time before it, you know, intersects with your little group. Is it dangerous? Is it friendly? Is it a snack? Who knows? At least at this distance.
Y'all,
Crunchy the date, everything is a snack.
Yeah. Y'all see that up there?
I think I'm gonna send. First, Crunchy is gonna nod their little circuit head, and then send some of the little glowing mice to do a little investigation. And they're kind of quietly going pew, 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 because that's the sound they make. I think it is the sound they make. I've decided, and then go pew, 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 to go investigate real quick, and then bring information back.
Sure. So, do you think you have like I suppose like neural interface or link with your mice swarm? Can you like see through like the swarm's eyes, or do they have to come back and communicate what they found to you?
Oh,
Are they wireless or are they analog?
Yeah, Bluetooth.
because the wireless version is more useful, but the analog version is so
Is
much
better.
funnier because then I have to go, what's that you say? So I'm gonna go with that. They do have to report back to me, and I have to kind of put my head down and listen as they go beep, 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 beep.
And then you have to boot back at them. And then you, Alex, have to tell us what both of you said in robot language because we didn't understand it at all.
And I'm going to perform the whole conversation.
Perfect. Are you instructing your little mice swarm to be cautious about this, or just sending them out like, hey, go check it out, say hello?
No, I have instructed them to be cautious.
Okay.
I have said that they need to be their tiniest, most unassuming mouse selves. And they went beep, 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 beep.
Yeah.
Means,
So
of
they
course.
understood.
They understood.
Of course. Yeah. So I think as some of this mouse swarm like diverges and forks away to go investigate this thing, as they get closer to it, there's still a safe distance away. That orb, sort of hologram orb that was traveling along this route, let's say it was like a nice, pleasant blue color at first. As some of that swarm gets a little close, it sort of releases this like pulsing noise, and it like shifts to like a slightly flashing orange, and it pauses on its route. I feel like your mice swarm is competent enough to like also pause when something changes. So they're not going to get closer at this moment, and like you can like see this happening off in the distance, right? Because this is still a ways away. And I think like a little segment of that swarm still stays there, keeping watch, but then some return to you. And they, convey this in, closer detail. And I feel like basic UI, they're like, orange is maybe a warning. It's not, lasering us. It's not outright hostile at this second. But I think your mice are more booping to you like ones and zeros of caution and concern.
Okay, so I'm gonna look to the other two, and I'm gonna indicate the now orange orb and make a wah, wah noise, which indicates caution and concern, and implies that we should maybe find a way to get around it without upsetting it.
I'll ask, do we see like an easy way around it?
An easy way? No, unfortunately.
It was worth asking if there's an easy. Yeah, there's a door right there.
Oh yeah, hey look, just a little it's like easy way this way. There's a sign. Definitely not a trap. No, like the most clear route is to continuing where you're going, and then you'll meet whatever it is regardless. There are sort of like more like concrete blocks and weird almost Escher-esque platforms and stuff branching off of the stairs, which could provide you like a detour, but they look unstable. The footing is questionable. You can probably get across it, or something bad can happen, and then you tumble far down to your horrible demise. I don't know.
Okay, well,
you could try and like hitch a ride on some of those zipping past like elevator platforms as another alternative, but again, they're moving very fast. You could, try and distract it, disguise yourself.
I got you. Well, look, team, if you think about it. It's orange up ahead, not red. If it was red, we'd have to worry about it. But orange, that just means it might be a problem. It doesn't necessarily have to be one. So I think we just walk through it.
Yeah. You know the old saying, red means dead, orange means door hinges. No one knows what that saying means, but like...
It's lasted in the lexicon for a billion years, so it's got to mean something, right?
It has to mean something.
Crunchy is going to nod approvingly and hold out some of their like bit snacks as maybe like an offering to appease the orange orb.
Yeah.
I mean,
so it sounds like the three of you are just going to continue up and hope for the best, right?
What do you mean?
And perhaps offer it some snack.
We know for the best.
Yeah, for the best, right?
Yeah, orange is friend colored.
Right. Yeah. So you continue climbing your way up these crumbling, massive stairs as this strange orb thing, is coming in for like an intercept path, because it really does seem to literally be following this track that is sort of beneath the concrete. It's not like moving.
We can see the track, like where the track is going to be also.
Yeah, you could see parts of it. It's not entirely revealed through the concrete. So it could branch or something.
So as we kind of get closer to it, like as we're kind of coming to the point where we're within, you know, a few, this is, you know, this future feels very metric when we're within a few meters of it, which I don't actually know what that means because I didn't grow up in a metric using country, but within a few meters of it, which I just imagine to be a variant of yards. I just want to stab my spear out into the section it's about to go into.
Ooh, that's fun. Yeah. So part of that track is exposed, so you can see it, so you can spear it. I think when that happens, as you sort of puncture this like light tube that's beneath the concrete, the orb, like which is back to blue now, right? Because the mouse swarm has left it. It like pulses and like glitches out a little bit, like, you know, sort of like its surface like shears in a weird way, and then it pulses once orange, and then blue, and then orange again, and then red.
Oh,
And then
red's a
it
bad color.
swells in
Red's a bad color.
size.
Red's a bad
Orange is
color.
like-
Bad color.
It just seems to be like rotating. It's not moving yet, but it almost as if it were searching for something. And I think that like light tube that's like directly underneath it also starts glowing red, and then you can see it like through like the cracks in the concrete, that red begin to spread.
Throw the
as if
snacks
we're, like,
now.
seeking.
No,
The salt and vinegar bits.
throws the snacks in a vain attempt to appease the orb.
Okay. Yeah. I like the idea of the snacks being both equal parts appeasement and distraction. Maybe this is a good opportunity for our first roll.
Oh wow. We're gonna make those?
At least one, right? We got to have at least one. Yeah, and so we can see what happens. So by default, you know, it's D20 plus any applicable levels if what you're doing fits with any of the classes you have, right? So what formats was Crunchy again?
Crunchy was fragment 2 points in fragment homunculus and 1 point in shadow relic.
I mean, if hunt is part of fragment homunculus, this could be like baiting a trap.
Right. I think that's appropriate.
Yeah.
Because I don't think abyss or blast match the flavor of what you're doing, unless these are abyss bits.
Yeah, or it's like a shotgun blast of bits.
It is code abyss or blast, and you could argue that bit snacks are bits of code.
You could.
You could.
I'm gonna.
Yeah,
you can argue basically anything.
You can argue a lot of things. Do do the bit snacks execute like some sort of code when they're consumed or something?
Yeah, I was thinking because my idea is that they're not organic material. They are little bits of code. So it could be that when consumed. Yeah, let's go with yes. They do execute little bits of code that could potentially throw this orb off its rhythm.
Right. Cool. Yeah. Awesome. So however many, I think it was one in that. So that's, Tony, you can correct me if I'm wrong here on basic Together We Go stuff. It'd be D20 plus 1.
Be D20 plus, stats. So isn't it great you can design a game and not have any idea really like how the core was? That's the best.
It is 2, yeah.
And so
It's 2. Okay, my bad.
It's plus whatever stat bonus it is, yeah. And so
here we go. Sorry if I kill us all on our first roll.
No, we'd love that.
I might, because that's a 4.
Ooh, okay. So I think unfortunately your bit snacks do not have the desired effect. The desired effect being now this orb is your friend, or it just ignores you. And instead, I think between that section of like the light tube getting stabbed and also you providing like another point of location data. The orb knows where you are, and it starts zipping along that track, and it is going to get to you all very, very quickly. It is moving far faster than it used to be. It's still kind of glitching out. It looks like stabbing the track had some sort of effect, maybe disrupting its like power source or something, or like, you know, how it receives data. But yeah, it's going to be here in just a few moments. So if there's something you really wanted to do before this orbs, now's your chance.
I want to I want to use a moment to pull my cloak in front of myself, and polarize my my cloak, to kind of make me like look like the gray of the blocks behind me.
Ooh, camouflage, cool.
So evidently my bit snacks did not work. So I'll try a different approach because stabbing the tube did something. So I'm going to have my mouse swarm. I'll take their little points and stab themselves into the tube as well to try to further damage the orb.
Cool. Yeah, I like that. I think if anything, this feels like you are making an attack of some kind. You know, you're trying to damage something. So this is probably a roll to hit kind of scenario, or at least inflict a hit upon it, because you can't miss the tube. It's right. It's not going anywhere.
In the meantime, while we're doing this, I am going to open up a poll in the chat, which is something I almost never do. I don't ever remember how they work. Yeah, you can type in exclamation point vote, and then in parentheses the number for your favorite flavor of bit snacks in the chat right now. The options are salt and vinegar, Old Bay, appeasing, void, hunt, and mercury.
Oh, it's got to be mercury for me.
Oh.
That's what Crunchy's eating right now. Is mercury flavor. Okay, cool.
I don't know that you have to actually put the parentheses around it. You may just put exclamation point vote space and then the number, because those aren't coming through. We'll figure it out. Keegan, that worked. Yes, you do not need the parentheticals around the number.
Cool.
I totally don't remember how to roll to hit. It's another D20 plus.
Yep. If you have any levels in fragment, you add those as well.
Okay.
They get bonuses to hit.
Oh, yeah, it's right there. Huh?
Nice. Okay, so it's going to be the same. Five.
Well, I think your mouse swarm, you know, is successfully like breached into this light tube, right? So potentially you can do something with that in the future. But you're unable to further disrupt this like light orb security thing as it zooms in. And I think some of those like holographic plates that were kind of rotating all around it like converge into a point, and they are going to sort of like jab out to try and stab through Crunchy. So now you get to roll defense to not get stabbed. So you get bonuses to defense if you have levels in Shadow Relic.
You.
Look at you min-maxing your character.
Right?
I feel like this roll is going to be a 6. Just you did a 4. You got 5.
But you know what? 10 rolls from now.
It's better every time.
You'll get there.
Well, that was 20, so plus 1, 21.
Oh, yeah. So how does Crunchy actually avoid this? Do you like jump out of the way? Do you just like fork your form into 2 different directions around it? Like,
I think it's kind of like it looks like they're not going to move, and then there's sort of like this glitchy thing that happens to them where they kind of like glitch out for a second and then just appear slightly next to where they were. It's kind of just like they go and then they're somewhere else.
awesome.
Okay.
And Josh, I don't know if we are playing with this rule or not. In some TWG games, 20s, it doesn't matter right now, actually, one way or the other. 20s let you recharge an ability also, too, as the critical success.
Ooh, nice. Yeah, I think that's fun to play with.
So you said this orb, this horrifying orb, is like glitching?
Yeah,
It looks
yeah.
like. Here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to try to hack into the orb and fix its glitch.
Ooh. Yeah, sure. How are you doing that? What does it look like when Sticky Pingy attempts to hack into the orb?
You see, I have the ability reformat. I could just rewrite the vital code of an individual.
Ooh, yeah, use an ability.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I do that. I have a big whip. It's a cat of six tails made out of cat six cables. I just whip into the back of it and try to rewrite its vital code.
And at this point in the future, like Cat 6 tables, that's all they're good for, really. Like they're on like Cat 50 now, and so.
Awesome, cool. Well, yeah. Well, using an ability, you get to do the thing. So, vital code is ambiguous and undefined in the text. So that's really up to you to interpret what exactly do you think you are rewriting in the code. It's almost like the data DNA of this security orb.
Yeah, I think I think I am just making it think it's friends with us.
We gave it snacks.
We gave it snacks, and it did actually really like salt and vinegar bits. And it remembers now that, oh, actually those were good, and I should just follow them and be friends.
Perfect. Yeah, awesome. Yeah. So I think after you execute this, and you remove your cable whip out of it, unplug. Well, you got to go up and you got to like press down on the little like lock thing. It's kind of annoying.
Yeah, it's a whole process.
Yeah, right. But once you do, the orb, the glitch has been fixed, right? You also wanted to fix that, so it stops like shearing at weird angles, and it goes back from red and large to like smaller and pleasant blue again, as it just sort of like beeps in your direction a little bit, and then just kind of continues slowly moving down that like light track away from you.
Great. Look, we have a friend now.
This could be a surprise tool that will help us later.
You know what the old saying is about the friends you make along the way? If they break free of their program, they'll kill you.
That is in this world. That is what the old saying is now.
Yeah, words to live by.
Yeah.
In the mega structure.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think he's taking us where we need to go, so I'm just going to follow him now.
Yeah. I'll follow Sticky Pingy.
I like how Ray is like, Tony is making this setting so bleak. I am not making the DeathGrind mega structure bleak. It is bleak.
It's I think it's in the title. It's called DeathGrind. Exclamation point, mega structure.
But the exclamation points are so fun.
Right.
Yeah, the exclamation points make me go, ooh, maybe not.
It's like
it's totally
like
Josh's
DeathGrind,
fault.
but like DeathGrind.
Yeah.
It's DeathGrind, but we're fun about it here.
Yeah, this isn't DeathGrind ? Mega structure. This is DeathGrind !
That's wine mega structure.
Keegan, by the way, you're the only person who didn't vote for Void or Mercury, and they're currently tied. You voted for Old Bay. So the question
Old Bay
is,
was the right choice. I'm sorry.
Well, okay, that's fine. Old Bay can be your favorite. What between Void and Mercury? What's your preferred flavor of? You're gonna be the tiebreaker.
Oh yeah, okay, we'll go Void then.
Okay, so Void bit snacks are the official flavor.
The flavor of the season.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
they're a limited run.
I was about to say limited time availability. Get them while you can.
Yeah.
Not that you couldn't just copy paste them, but
we're following along now behind our new friend Blue Orb.
Orb, as he's better known.
Right.
And we're pondering the direction that he's headed.
Yeah. Presumably, like Sticky Pingy said, this blue orb, which is not your friend, is leading you somewhere important. And it does seem to be leading you deeper into the layer. Some of these sort of like uneven concrete walkways and structures, it seems to be taking you on a more stable route past them. So, you are bypassing the worst of like the gaping holes and the horrible void down far below, and like, you know, the worst of the crumbling concrete. And I think you get to a point where you like pass between like two giant like skyscraper sized slabs that seem to kind of just be like coming up to a point. It's like, despite the massive scale here, like this opening, though hugely tall, is not very wide. It's like single file width, so you're almost like passing into like just a horribly large cavern tunnel as this beeping orb takes you deeper and deeper within this layer.
I'm imagining this image as we go into are we going into now this like space, the single file space between the slabs? I'm imagining my swarm of mice now becomes a single file line of mice behind me. So there's me, and then there's just like computer mouse, computer mouse, computer mouse, computer mouse, going back really far.
It's like a LED sign, you know, leading towards Crunchy. Nice.
But yeah, I'll still stay in the lead behind Blorb, unless now all of a sudden, since Sticky Pingy reprogram them, if they want to take the lead, they can.
Oh yeah, I'll take the lead.
Okay.
I'll walk right next to Blorb. We're having a full conversation, but
Yeah. So I feel like
I say we're having a full conversation. I should be clear. I'm speaking to Blorb a lot. I'm not sure Blorb's responding.
Is Blorb like one of the Tron like isohedrons that just like goes boom like every once in a while?
Yeah, that is exactly what I've been imagining. I think because Sticky Pingy did interface with Blorb, you do get some responses from it, you know, to your queries. I will say it's not a great conversationalist. Its program seems pretty limited. A lot of yes or no or undefined being your primary responses. But, you know, if there's something in particular you might want to ask it.
Oh, no, I should be clear. I'm treating it like a magic 8-ball. So I'm telling it deep things about my life, and it's just coming up undefined. And I'm like, that's real deep. I'm learning a lot about myself during this conversation.
I'm having a really reflective moment with the
I occasionally
hologram.
pick up Blorb and shake him.
Wait, how big is Blorb?
When it's blue, I'd say it's like maybe yay in diameter.
Oh, okay. I'm imagining something huge.
It was much bigger when it was red and threatening.
Grabbing this giant orb and shaking it. Crunchy is going to see Sticky Pingy having, you know, interfacing a little with Blorb and go squilly-bop-bop. Asking, and the meaning is very clear, asking if Sticky Pingy will ask Blorb where Seven can find some juicy data to...
You have to format it as a yes or no question.
Okay, so Crunchy points first behind them and goes boop boop boop.
Is there juicy data behind us? And I shake Blorb.
Blorb gives you a response of no.
No.
And then Crunchy
We do this.
forward.
We do this pointing each direction.
Yeah. That's a better way.
XYZ.
real pondering the Blorb.
With
But
15
yeah,
trees?
which direction's the spicy data? And
Yeah. I think by process of elimination, you're eventually able to get sort of a heading, and it is deeper into like the superstructure of the layer itself. You know, which you've sort of been. It's not a good way for like horizontally descending because you're sort of walking in a line, right? But you're going deeper into things.
Right.
I think Blorb does give you like at least the term like vault. Right, so presumably there's some good stuff in there. Yeah. Up to this point, you've had yes, no, undefined. Now vault. Ooh. And I think as you do, like, there's nothing here is like emitting light. You have your Blorb is because it's a hologram primarily. You have the light mice, and then whatever perhaps sources you have or don't have. Where was I going? Train of thought, please come back. There are like, I wouldn't describe them as branches in the path that Blorb is leading you down, but they're almost like ventilation system, but just like blown up on like such a huge scale that they may as well be like entire tunnels to you all. And I think you get to a point, and it feels like you've been walking for hours and kilometers, even perhaps, since we're in a metric world. When Blorb just like stops and like pulses blue a couple of times, and then it just sort of like starts retreating. I think at least Sticky Pingy, you get the sense that it's like, okay, here it is, and then it leaves. But from what you can tell, you just sort of stopped in the middle of this big giant tunnel passageway thing. There's not like a giant obvious and cinematic stone door that you have to get through into this vault. Whatever is here is either gone and just the data hasn't been updated, it's hiding, or you're just not able to access it in this manner. So I suppose it's, if you want to get into that vault, apparently it's here.
I want to use Trojan to sink down into the programmed floor of the superstructure we're standing on.
Ooh, very nice. Yeah. So how is Tovu accessing this and actually performing that Trojan?
So Tovu is like is actually like a fluid form. So this is really like almost like me seeping into the structure around me. So like dependently on what it exactly looks like, if it's just cracked concrete, I'm like flowing down into the concrete. If there's like little metallic inlays or cracks, like I'm flowing into and around them. But I'm basically looking for the corresponding structural programming of this space.
Awesome. Yeah. So I think we see Tovu, dissolve into the floor first through these cracks in the concrete, and then the deeper you go, the more the actual like machinery and mechanisms and wiring and conduit, all of that of the layer itself becomes accessible. Everything's sort of like faced with this concrete. And Tovu, you're able to infiltrate this system quite easily, sort of fluid, whatever your body is composed of, whether it's like nanites or something, or even just data itself entering the system.
And I'm specifically looking for essentially an access code. Like I'm getting in the system and I'm basically like, I'm spreading out as far as I can within the local system to see if I can sense, like, is there a lift here? Is there a door here? What, like I'm looking for basically an access command.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah. Well, to me, it sounds like you might be trying to like hack into the system in a way, which there is an option for rolling that when you hack into the haunted data sphere itself. You are rolling with any profit levels you might have.
I got some. That is a 2 levels. It's a 13.
Cool. All right. So I think you're able to find like the access key code that you're looking for. Couple of things in your way. The key itself is like the data is both virtually and physically like embedded within like the mechanical structure of this area here. So you're going to need a way to extract it. Like you have it isolated and you could maybe just yank it out. But I think you're smart enough to realize there's probably going to be a consequence for that. But also I think, unfortunately, like some like far off extension of yourself, maybe like the thinner you spread, the less fine control you have over those extensions. And one of those extensions, you realize it just a second too late, it trips something. Like it trips an alarm, and like you can feel like that data, connect and travel through this network. And I'm actually going to tick up by 1 the monitor alarm. So to the audience, the monitors are these strange extensions of both like the megastructure and also the fractal death machine. And when they arrive once all 6 segments of this monitor alarm clock is filled, something bad will happen. So we have filled up 1 tick because Tovu has tripped something. Right? So somewhere out there, someone is receiving an alarm alert somewhere in the layer. So
love it. It's everything I'm looking for. Yeah, I'm I think like a face, like my face like kind of pulls up on the floor for a second, and I'm like I think there's something here, but I haven't been able to find it yet. Can I get one? Can I get one of those? Can I get one of those bits real quick? And I just open my mouth.
Yeah. And Crunchy says boobity beep and tosses one in.
Oh.
So I wanna try to help Tovu figure out what it is that's here, and I'm wondering, can I remember? Can I recall an ancient secret?
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely.
To help my friends figure out what's going on. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So what does it look like when Crunchy performs this? So like remembering, you know, whether it's you were at some point part of this system or worked on the system, or maybe like a piece you ate somewhere, you know, had experience in this, and you've just sort of incorporated it into yourself. So what is it like when you access this like buried, maybe even locked memory within yourself?
Ooh, okay. I know. So Crunchy looks quite inhuman at this point, but they kind of like freeze up, and there's kind of they get hazy for a second, and briefly they appear to be the human that they once were before they started eating computer data. And this kind of like it's almost like seeing the organic being within the robotic shell. But it's kind of like this hazy holographic image of this former self before these secrets were inside of their programming. That's what it looks like.
Awesome. Yeah, we're kind of getting like a holographic flashback to this PC that can recall this information. So I think what you are able to remember is so there's 2 ways to get into this vault. There's the key that Tovu knows, you know, they've found, but you know, it's embedded, and removing it, is it bad? Is it good? Who knows? You know, might just have to do it. But there is a sort of like emergency access, right? That you know, if you were one of the fabled architects, you could probably just wave your hand and, you know, open the door, right? But for the way the 3 of you are now, you might have to actually kind of breach past some of this concrete structure, like one of the walls effectively, and like kind of manually engage the entrance mechanism. Because the way this door works, it's not here until you activate it, right? And then it sort of just pops in from somewhere else in space-time, allowing you access to this vault. So those are kind of your 2 options. There is the way that perhaps Tovu could access it with this data key, or you could try and like effectively, you know, like break glass in case of emergency, but the glass is like one of these big walls, right? Which you can do. It's just concrete, but it'll be noisy, it'll be loud, and maybe bad things will fall on top of you.
Just Crunchy, do you explain this as you discover it?
Oh yes, absolutely, and it's all being explained in bidi-bap-boody-bidi-bidi-bap.
Oh, so there's an old door, you're saying?
Bidi-bidi-bap.
I'm going to point at the wall and use activate to stir an ancient mechanism hidden deep within the tower to just open the door up.
Cool. Like, are you literally just pointing at it and then it's
Yeah.
it just
You
opens
said
up?
that's
Cool.
how the ancient architects would have done it. So
Right.
I'm just like, oh, right. If the architects... Okay, so I just...
You may not
Yeah.
have full access to the net gene because of the way that the transhuman reality has evolved within this setting, but you can do this.
Right. Yeah. So what do you think it is about Sticky Pingy that you are actually able to activate this mechanism, right?
I think I have, to some degree, in this moment, like, hacked my own code just so that,
Ooh.
like, knowing how it worked with Blorb, and, like, changing it so we look like friends. I've just changed it so the structure thinks I currently look like someone who used to work here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nice. I like it. Yeah. So as you activate this mechanism, rather than having to tear down an entire, concrete surface, it just like what was once very, very solid and, quite thick, from what you've seen of all these crumbling segments, it sort of just slides away almost like a liquid, leaving an opening in there with a terminal that you'll be able to interface with to actually activate this door.
Okay, cool. I walk up to the terminal and I activate the door. If possible. If there's like code or something.
No, I think this is totally possible. You can just put your hand on it and hit enter key on it. I think you are savvy enough, and whether Crunchy or Tovu has any input on this as well, that unless maybe you maintain this sort of hacked identity, that you'll be able to open it, but again, it's going to send out like an alert ping because you are not an authorized user by default. So again, you can do it. And I think the main consequence is I'm just going to tick that clock up again. But then you'll gain access to the vault. Or if you want to maneuver around, now that you have this terminal access, maybe there's something else. If you want to
I totally forgot that this is a piece of tech in this game, and I deeply love having something that even when people are using abilities, you can trigger to say this is a thing happening that is still consequential. It's tremendously wonderful from a GM toolkit standpoint. Just as an FYI, I love it.
I'll explain to the group, like, okay, there's a big green button that says door. We could press it, but everyone's gonna know we pressed it.
Oh, I think that's fine.
I'm gonna pick up Blorb and say, should I press the button?
Didn't Blorb leave?
Yeah, Blorb left.
No!
Well, it's slow. You could like run down.
I run back
pick it
and
up.
hold my friend.
Take it.
You can't take Blorb from me, Josh.
Apparently Blorb can't take Blorb from you either. Just holding it under your arm for the rest of the
It's called
session.
forcible friendship.
Yeah, Blorb had showed us here and then it just started wandering off afterwards.
I plug one of my cables back into it and walk it like a dog.
Well, if you're providing it with a power source, being yourself, you could remove it
eat
from
a little
that
bit
track.
of me. Cool.
Wait, hold on. Does Blorb have any? Wait, how have we gendered Blorb? Is Blorb an it?
I think I've been saying he, but just like
I think
really.
He. Does he have any juicy data in him?
Look,
Not for you.
The entirety of Blorb is juicy data. Like Blorb is a still functioning piece of like architect tech.
okay,
Right? This is a remnant of like
Crunchy, you
original
cannot eat my
megastructure.
friends.
a couple canonical things to know. Everybody knows all Blorbs are he's. All orbs, orange ones, she's. All rorbs are theys. Like that's just how it works. And then Blorb's
Orbs.
juicy data, Rorb's spicy data,
Blorbs probably have very cool data.
Orbs. What flavor of data do orbs have?
Salt and vinegar.
Shout it out in the chat.
So at the thought of eating some of this ancient architect data. So you didn't know, I don't think anyone here knew that Crunchy had a mouth, but a sort of mouth like a disk drive opens up and a little wire that's like a tongue goes.
You cannot eat Blorb, Crunchy. We need Blorb to tell us if we can open this door or not. And then I shake Blorb. Do I hit the green button?
Yeah. We'll get to Blorb answers in a second, but just for Crunchy's benefit, like this whole area is like suffused with spicy data if you were to go digging for it. Like this terminal that is now accessed, like if you were to plug your like cord tongue into it, you could probably siphon off some good stuff.
I'm gonna call it a proboscis.
Your proboscis, just plug that in. But again, you know, like there's a layer of risk. You know, you're not authorized users here, right? And if you go digging around too far, I think, you know, Tovu also discovered this. Like, it's like, yeah, you can find the data, but perhaps removing it or eating it might alert someone unless you're very careful about it. So, just, you know, in case Crunchy's looking for a snack, it's all around you. But yeah. And as for Sticky Pingy, Blorb gives you effectively the same answer. You know, it's like unauthorized user, but you can open the door, right? It's like you're able to open it because you have effectively the emergency exit option. But again, unless you are either disguising your identity, you're hacking the terminal, or something else that I'm not even thinking of, the real consequence here is I just tick up the monitor alarm.
I hit the button.
Okay. Cool. So you hit the button. Also, Tovu, are you still down in the mechanisms and?
Yeah, I'm watching
data?
what's happening.
Cool. Yeah. So I think Tovu, you get like a first-hand visual of like this signal coming out of the terminal, and then it forks in two directions. One seems to go to the door access that you had basically found the key for, but just didn't want to yank it out.
Right.
And then the other just travels deeper out into the layer, into spaces unknown, presumably letting somebody know that, hey, you know, you get a little alert on your phone. Garage door's been opened, right? Yeah. The door itself, basically sections of these concrete surfaces actually just sort of swoop out in like cubes and actually begin forming like this cubist doorway. And once the structure of it is formed, there's sort of another like VoIP noise as it fills up. And I realize this is very similar to another portal in Minecraft. That's unintentional, but you get that effect. It's like you can see around the door because it's just in 3D space, but like when you look through the doorway, it's clearly somewhere else.
By the way, we all know this is apparently what Minecraft is, what takes over and becomes the megastructure eventually. We've now discovered that.
Wow,
in
it is
play.
a lot of blocks
Minecraft in
that
real
you
life.
I want to swish around the program of the door real quick to just get a sense of it, and then I'll like kind of Mercury style, even though that's not the most popular flavor of snack bite, ooze back out of it and back into my normal form. Walk over and pick up my cloak and put it back on.
Cool. So as you're swishing around like the code of the door itself, is there anything in particular you're looking for, or just like general sense of its functions?
Yeah, I just want a general sense of its function. I'm not trying to do anything. I'm trying to understand it a little bit better through the programmed reality of it.
Yeah. So I think it's kind of surprisingly straightforward, at least on the surface. You're not 100% sure if there's things buried deeper within that code, but at least like the basic functions, you know, open, close, and there's like some like variable data on distance. So from what you can gather, the vault itself is located somewhere very, very, very far away, perhaps even in a completely separate layer or outside of the megastructure somehow. You're unsure. And it seems to be moving, actually. So that's why like the distance itself is variable. So accessing the vault through other means aside from this door would be tricky. we'll say.
Because we'd have to know where it was going, be there at the
Mhm.
right time, and figure out how to get there. All this,
Mhm.
all while spanning a theoretically intergalactic structure.
Right. Just a couple things.
I mean, I go through the door after I grab my stuff.
Sure. Tova goes through the door.
I step through the purple pixelated reality of it into this other space.
Right. For a second, you're like kind of caught in the middle of it while the other side like fully renders, and
Yeah.
I look at Blorb and I put Blorb through the door first, and then I go through the door.
Similarly, Crunchy is gonna send Seven's mice through the door, just kind of to see what happens, and they all go pew, 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 pew. That's the sound of them going through the door, and see if they feel anything weird, like a little tingle when the mice go through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anything that goes through the door, and Crunchy, you very shortly get this information from your mice. It just, you don't even feel the transition. It's like you just took a step and you're somewhere else. Again, there is a corresponding just effectively door frame just in like this area. You can walk all the way around it, but when you look through it, oh, hey, there's that tunnel passage we just came from. Contrasting with that sort of almost too tight quarter, very dark area you are in, this section of the vault, though you can't see any like piles of gold jewelry or data chips, is still very large because everything in the megastructure is just stupid large. It's not very ergonomic design, to be quite honest. And it's bright, like so bright, and from an ambiguous source, like there's no shadow anywhere, right? It's just sort of emanating, and it looks fake, right? Sometimes you see lighting where it's like, oh, that doesn't look real. That's what it's like as you walk past into this almost blank, like I guess orb is a good, I keep doing this hand motion, so I'm guessing it's a sphere of some kind you've entered.
It's a very orb heavy section that we've entered into.
It's true.
The destiny leak again.
This is where
Inscrutable orbs left and right.
This is where the orbs come from. This is their homeland.
Right.
We're pondering. We're out here pondering.
Yeah, I look around and ponder the orb.
Yeah, I'm gonna send out my mice to see what information they can gather about this new orb.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And of course, as usual, they come back, and I have to go.
I'm gonna pick up Blorb and ask, "Is this your parent?"
Mommy.
I think Blorb gives Sticky Pingy the response of yes / undefined, which I think you interpret as like perhaps this is like the point of origin for like this security orb, and perhaps other security
The Morb.
The orb.
The
Or
great
the
Morb.
What color is the Morb right now?
Where you are right now, it's just sort of like blank white almost.
Okay.
Right? It's kind of hard to see the actual surface of the structure. Like it just sort of like you're just like looking out into like a white void almost. Like you can kind of maybe see the curvature or something, just because the lighting is so weird in here. And so as both Tovu and Crunchy via the mice swarm are like investigating, getting a lay of the land, I think sort of at the surface level, it's like, okay, yes, this is the vault, right? And by vault, we refer more to data vault. This is where the architects kept things, right? Whether that is physical, stored as data, or just records, secrets, who knows what else could be here. And, maybe you even heard rumors or legends about, these architect vaults, and they are just such a source of like, just real juicy data, right? Whether to eat or to extract future forms from. The difficult part is actually interfacing with it and accessing this data. Now, you could probably do what Tovu did a little earlier and like seep into the floor, but this place is much more pristine. There's less seam. You can't really see like the crack. It's not really as crumbling. So either you have to like dig through yourself, find some sort of access terminal, hack something else I'm not even thinking of. Who knows?
I want to pull out my macro data phage. Which I'm breaking down into sub elements as far as words go to think about what do I think this thing actually does, but it seems useful. Yeah. And I walk up to a spot in the wall, and I stick it in the wall. So a phage basically transforms DNA. So I stick it into the wall, and I want to try to hack it into being a terminal. Like I want to change this section of wall into a terminal.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. I feel like this is another like hack roll, but given your use of the data phage, that difficulty level is going to be dropped down because you're using a piece of your tech and gear
Cool.
to your advantage here.
I rolled a 15. I have 2 points, so that's 17.
Awesome.
Dice.
So. Yeah, passed it with flying colors. So first of all, what does your data phage, macro data phage look like? And then what is this process as it warps the surface here into an active terminal?
Yeah, I think a lot of times when I pull out items, there's this kind of weird, like unless somebody's seen me pick up the item and carry it around, lots of times it just looks like I'm reaching inside of my cloak and pulling out something, and it almost seems to shape out. So I think anybody who's looking closely sees this little glimmer, because a lot of these items are just little bits of me that I'm manifesting into being a thing that I can use all of a sudden. It does take up it's a permanent item after that. But that's kind of the initial. It looks kind of like, I think it looks almost like a viral structure. Like it looks like a viral nucleus. But instead of like all the little like wiggly things that normally point out words, it's almost got like brassy trumpets coming out of it that like suck on to whatever I put it on, and start to pull in the data and then push it out the other side as it like pops into being whatever it's supposed to be.
Awesome. Yeah. So it forms that terminal, right? And I think because you hacked this terminal into existence, like you have user access to it, right? You are no longer out of the unauthorized user like with some of the other ones. So you can probably use this terminal, access at least, sort of like the directory of this space without fear of alerting anyone or setting anything off.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to start looking at what the morb does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think you are very quickly just flooded with information. Like there's so much actually stored here, like not only information data, just like knowledge, but I think this sort of like data format for physical structures, maybe even sort of like blueprint-esque maps of pieces of the megastructure, right? Which could be potentially very, very valuable. I think a lot of this data is just not necessarily encrypted, but it's formatted in an odd way. So you're kind of getting like the surface level. Oh, this is what this, you're looking at the file names of things, right? And, you can guess this is what this is, this is what this is, this is what this is. But when you try to access things, it's almost as if you're opening them in the wrong program, except your brain is the wrong program.
Excellent. That's what I love to hear. I guess I'll try somebody else's brain. I'm pulling that up, and you guys just hear like me just like humming, not humming. Like repeatedly.
Crunchy will give a little boopity bop as in like asking, have you discovered something that we should know?
Does your tongue flick out while you do that?
Yes, there is a little.
I grab the tip of your tongue, player permitting, and I like just bring it over and like stick it on one of those files I can't open.
And she kind of goes.
Yeah. So Crunchy, I think you get much the same kind of information that Tovu just has access to. Again, it's like nearly overwhelming, just like the sheer scale of the amount of data here, right? It's measured in Google bytes or what. Pick a very large number with a lot of zeros and then add byte to the end of it, right? And again, it's the format is strange, whether it's just archaic because it's a billion plus years old, or something about the architects themselves just hasn't, translated to modern post-human brains. But again, it's like you're opening, a JPEG in like a text file or something. You can kind of get the gist of what each file is and what the data is. And like, this is valuable, right? I could just eat this right now. And there's probably no consequence, maybe. But like to really understand and like access, what some of these programs do, like there's something else that you might need to, whether it's hacking the data, hacking yourself, hacking the space, or, you could just say, okay, cool. Just stick that on a flash drive, save for snack for later. Maybe sell to the highest bidder. Who knows?
Maybe a little bit of both. If this is I can take a little bit so one of the things that I gave myself in the beginning was an old forgotten backup, and I decided that this was a backup from Crunchy's more human days of a video game save file. I haven't decided what video game because I'm sure it's some future it's future
Minecraft.
It's your
still
skin.
just called
Your
Minecraft.
Your skin is on this backup.
Yeah, it's my Minecraft skin. It actually looks exactly like Crunchy. So I'm thinking I might slurp up just like what feels like a consumable chunk of this data and put it on this backup that also contains my Minecraft world.
Ooh, interesting. Okay, so a couple of things. So I think Crunchy, you know that this data here, should you eat it, this is irresistible. This is like, this is raw, unfiltered architect data. This will spoil you for all future snacks.
You have to cook your data.
In
You
the
cannot
future,
eat it
right?
raw.
Like this is, I'd almost say like nearly addicting if you were to consume it, which may have consequences for Crunchy of the future, right?
Right.
But Crunchy of the now is going to have a great time.
Now, and Crunchy now is thinking yum yum in the mechanical tum.
right.
The binary.
And I like the idea of like, you're copying some of this data over onto like effectively like an old Minecraft server backup, right? I feel like that will give you some limited access almost, right? You physically can't fit the entirety of one of these programs onto the even million plus future Minecraft server, right? It's just that massive. But I feel like you'd be able to access like a fragment of it or something, right? Which could potentially be very, very useful in the future. Like either this data is something to keep around and access, you can get some sort of advantage out of it in the future. It would sell for a ton probably if you wanted to do that.
They're using the Minecraft server as a to-go box.
Yeah.
Or for this very valuable data.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Great.
So there's like a lot of data here, and it's hard to parse exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would like to do, because I see under Shadow, it mentions I can code. What I would like to do is make like an archiving program to see if I can't sort of sort through this data in a way that makes it make a little more sense to me.
Ooh. Yeah, I like that. Cool. So want to make a roll for it? Sounds like this is an opportunity for a roll.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna plug. So I have part of my Cat6 cable plugged into Blorb, and I'm gonna plug the other part of it into this terminal. and sort of bring the data through him, since he seems to be being made in some part out of this.
You're networking the blorb to the morb.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that idea. I think that also is going to lower the difficulty here because you're using something that is supposed to have access to this space.
Yeah, I'm using him like as a buffer or whatever. But I'm gonna roll, and that is a 21.
Ooh,
19
nice.
plus 2.
Perfect. Yeah, so your archival program, you can assemble it pretty quickly. I think you're tapping into the processing power of a blorb here as well. Running everything through him, and it starts compiling things in a way that is at least makes more sense to like sift through. Right? Is there something in particular you might be looking for?
No, I was just seeing if there's anything fancy or anything like that. I'm just trying to make it easier for everybody else, mostly.
I feel like you just dropped us into the middle of a giant room full of gold, and we're just idiot divers who are just like, oh no, shovel a bunch of this stuff into your bag. We'll figure it out later.
That's a valid strategy, right? When confronted with big piles of virtual gold, effectively.
Yeah, I think effectively, I guess trying to find what's the most valuable data.
Yeah, I think Keegan's like, no, that's just trash data.
we don't need that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think one thing that catches your eye after this archive program has a little bit of time to go, it seems to be relating to like ancient virtual intelligences, right? Which anything that was sort of directly created by the architects, is less of a virtual intelligence and more of like a true super intelligence. And who knows what you could learn from one. However, I think this section of the data, not because of anything you did here, just maybe it's just time degrading it or it was improperly uploaded. It is partially corrupted. So you could access this intelligence here. You could activate it. You could turn it on, flip the switch, talk to it, perhaps talk to the morb itself. But is it going to be friendly? Is it going to be, sensical? You're not sure. And you don't have necessarily the resources immediately to try and repair this data. I mean, maybe you could, if you wanted to sit here for a century and sort of go line by line.
No, I have a thought, which is that my origin, my type here is I'm a code fisher. So I think what I'd like to do is hook a piece of this ancient super intelligence and fabricate it into the physical space. And I think to that, I'm just pulling sort of the brains of it, how it operates more than what's inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just have like a little orb brain that I'm going to feed to Blorb.
You're going to feed it to Blorb. Oh, I love that. Yeah. So what does it look like when you perform this code phishing?
Yeah, I think everything else I've been using this dumb Cat6 cable for. But I think this time I actually just reach directly through the computer screen, like through the terminal, and I just pull out like a very small little, like almost pink orb, and then just shove it into Blorb.
Eat this.
Yeah, making of course Porb, because now he's purple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we do see Blorb's color shift to purple as this like intelligence brain gets inserted into it. And Blorb seems, pulses again in this purple color, and then starts to like swell and grow, and not in the way you saw it when it like went into alert mode, where it's someone just like it like shift and enlarge, right, and just went whoop. This is like something almost seems to be pushing out past the shell of this holographic now purple orb. And you can almost see like fractures in the holographic plates themselves as this is like misshapen and growing outwards and swelling.
I don't know if y'all remember this saying that I tried to remind us all of earlier. That The friends we made along the way are all great until they break free of the programming that we've inserted into them, and that's what this feels like.
I did in fact reprogram Blorb, who used to be an enemy, and then I was like, you know what I should do? I should put a super intelligence inside.
This is everything I'm excited for.
It was one of those things where you started describing it, and I was like, I fucked up. I go to shake Porb, but I think it's too big at this point. I'm like, hey, are you okay? Are you smacking hands against the side of it?
I think what's perhaps most disturbing about this, because previously, you could just pick up a hologram and it doesn't weigh anything because it's a hologram and you're just shaking orb left and right. This thing has weight and mass to it somehow, despite still being composed entirely of light.
So all my mice, I'm assuming, are telling me that this is bad. Apparently, Crunchy doesn't know when things are bad and good unless mice tell them so. So all the mice, I'm assuming, are saying this is not good, right?
Yeah. I think the programmed animal instinct of these mice recognize danger.
Yeah, because Crunchy doesn't have that because they've lost so much of what's animalistic about them. Ooh, it's poetic. So what if I try to execute and violently end in progress process?
Ooh, yeah, I like that. So how is it you are able to access a program and try and execute it in this manner?
I think it's through my connection to the architects, because the time that I one time ate that ancient data, like I think that is how I am able to do it. I think what it looks like is everything that Crunchy's done thus far has been this cool kind of like holographic whoa glitchy glitch. This time it's just gonna be going up to it and going bonk. Like it's gonna be almost like a karate chop. Nice. Stop it.
Yeah. So I think as you approach and prepare yourself to end, this program, right? You realize there are multiple different layers to what is happening here. So you can end one of them.
Oh man!
Just immediately. It's just sort of, which one do you want to end? So there's, I think, the fracturing outer layer of what was once Blorb, which is this sort of basic security protocol. Which when alerted, it wants to do you harm. But beneath that, there's still a couple layers of this, super intelligence that Sticky Pingy just shoved straight in there. I think the two main components of it is the actual intelligent part, so the actual intelligence cognition of whatever this program is growing into. And then there is its ability to interface and manipulate the actual layer itself. So you could potentially immediately and without doing anything end the security protocol of Blorb, which has recognized you as threats. You could end the sort of super intelligence, which might cripple everything else, rendering it just more of a simplistic program like Blorb once was. Or you can remove its ability to shift and change the actual structure that you are all currently standing on top of. You could try to do the other ones too, but that's going to be more into the realm of rolling or doing something. It's okay. You got one freebie because this is a big thing.
Okay. So let's go with this. I'm going to first and its ability to physically change where we are, because that seems like priority number one. Is let's not give the thing control of our physical space. But then you said I could try for another one, but it would be a roll.
Yeah. So you can just with the execute, you just go in, you karate chop the code and just delete it. It's gone. It is no longer functional. So its connection to the physical space, the layer, the megastructure, has been severed. It's still here, and it could try and blast you with lasers or something, who knows? Or it can try and do something that a super intelligence does, overload your brain with data or something, or just argue you to death.
We gotta turn off the security protocol.
So yeah, because this thing is still growing, it's nascent. you have the opportunity to try and like hack it or disrupt it or run away. I don't know. It's up to you all.
I think, yeah, disrupting the security protocol that sees us as enemies would be the other important thing. Maybe I should have done that first. Right? In retrospect.
Do it again.
Why can I
karate chop in a second.
Yeah. Was that an option?
Sorry, Tim, were you going to say something too?
To karate chop it a second time?
Yeah, well, to get at one of the other layers, and this time, like,
yeah, you can still try and disrupt some of the other layers because you just use your execute function. I think if you want to get deeper into it and like get at the other layers, almost imagine like the virtual immune system has like responded. So your immediate execute isn't going to be functional in that way. You're going to have to try and either hack into it, perhaps, or I don't know, like stab it.
Yeah. So I think we got a team up here. So you already hit it once. It's got its security layers up. What really needs to happen now is I need to use scatter. I'm going to fracture myself into a swarm cloud of infectious nanites, and I'm going to surround Plorbs, or what was Plorb, it is now something, or Porb, and it was now something else. We'll come up with a new name in a second. And start infecting the protective barrier around it to wear it down.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah. So what does it look like as you sort of burst into this nanite swarm and actually begin to infiltrate this swelling, probably uncomfortably pulsing holographic mass?
From the camera perspective, and we're going to see some really like elongated, like within the manga of the moment, like everything's going to get real long to show some really strong force perspective to imply how quickly this is happening. But my polarized tech cloak is going to like fly at it. You see some of my other gear like just dropping to the ground. Like the orb, the super intelligent orb, the sea orb. Like I think we actually see it like the like a bolt of energy like whip out and knock the cloak to the side, and I'm just like not there, and all of a sudden we see like just a ton of like small black bits starting to coalesce around on it, like slowly working their way up from the bottom, coating its entire surface, and like we see kind of this dark. What color is it now? Is it still purple?
I think it's still purple, but it's like a bruised purple.
Yeah. So in that case, we see on the bruise of this thing, you know how when the area around the bruise gets pussy and turns yellow, we see that color starting to rip its way across the surface of this thing.
Horrific. I love it. Cool. All right. So you are in, and you are infecting. You said you were going after the security protocol layer?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you are in there, your nanite form just coursing through, like the data veins of this, whatever this construct is at this point. So you effectively have complete access to this system. And what is it you would like to do? Presumably shut it down, but maybe you're deciding to turn it on.
Oh, my main focus was actually to get rid of the protector. So like I'm essentially like, I mean, we're using a lot of physical language here. I'm ripping, I'm infiltrating those veins and then like ripping the protective layer off so that the next karate chop can be effective.
Perfect. Yeah.
So I have 2 of my cat of 6 tails plugged in so far. So I still have one plugged into the super intelligence orb at this point. And I have on me an AI dream intelligence. And I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to plug another of the tails into the dream intelligence. How many things can I plug into each other?
I mean, 6.
I'm going to yeah, we're halfway there. I'm going to try to give the security layer alone like a pleasant dream so it doesn't feel like it needs to attack anything.
Ooh, I like that. Cool. Yeah, so unless there's like an ability you are tapping on to do that instantaneously, sounds like you are trying to hack the security layer, which is now completely unprotected thanks to Tovu's nanite infection.
Yeah. That sounds good to me.
So between Tovu's setup and the dream intelligence you're using, the difficulty value is like boom, boom.
Nat 20.
Oh, hell yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, awesome. So what does it look like when you insert this dream intelligence, and how does the dream intelligence actually spread through this super intelligence orb?
Yeah, so I think we see between like the security layer being torn away and the other stuff being sort of karate chopped away. I have a moment where I can sort of calm it down, and we see these sort of like purple and pussy nonsense going on with it sort of drop back to that like soft blue it was back when he was Blorb, but he's still very large. But we see that blue sort of spread out from one of the inputs I have plugged into it.
Nice, yeah. So you've calmed the security layer, you have severed its connection to the superstructure itself. All that's really left and functional is, I feel like, this now slumbering like super intelligence itself, like the core of this vaguely brain-shaped light orb, right? And it's not going to try and murder you right now because you've prevented it from doing so. So what do you want to do?
So the security protocol is sleepy time, but we could still potentially communicate with the super intelligence without waking up the security protocol, right?
Yeah. I like the idea that because it's the dream intelligence that that like slumber sort of like trickled down into the core of it, which is the intelligence part, and it's sort of like half asleep.
Right? So we're talking to the subconscious intelligence of this intelligence.
So what Crunchy's gonna do is stick out their tongue and plug their tongue into the whatever Blorb 2.0, because we're back to Blorb.
It's giant exclamation mark Blorb.
Yeah.
In all caps.
Blorb. And now that they are plugged in, they don't have to speak in beep boop bops anymore because they're speaking directly interfacing. So now that they're plugged in, they're gonna go to the super intelligence and go, "What's up?"
So when you plug yourself in, it's almost like your perception, your consciousness is like sucked in with you. Like you're still standing there and you're aware of your surroundings, not like you're physically transported. But I think just like the pull and power of the still like subconscious of the super intelligence is strong enough that it sort of like forces you into its own little like mindscape, which again is sort of this like blank, just infinite plane. And the intelligence itself is taking the form of, I think, something kind of mostly human shaped, but composed of like little blocks that are kind of always shifting through in this form. So it's kind of semi-fluid, but in the way that like sand can act as a fluid. And it's just sort of like floating in like a comfortable position. Probably because I've started playing too much Elden Ring. I have images of like Renala here. Just sort of
I was imagining it in Minecraft.
Yeah.
I was still thinking Minecraft.
So yeah. And as you ask it, just what's up? There's sort of this like rumbling communication of like acknowledgement from this. I don't think you really get like a super clear answer because that's just like, are you really asking what's up?
Only answer yes or no question still is
hello.
The problem.
So it has acknowledged you in like this very sleepy way, right? Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna how do I? Because I'm in this dreamscape.
You're still fully aware and conscious,
Right,
like outside of it. Like you're looking at two monitors, like almost.
Okay, I see. Originally, I was gonna say something about doing some redecorating in the this empty plane, but now I have something more exciting, which is I want to take this back up where I've put the data and say, hey, can you help me figure out, what can I do with this? And also plug in my Minecraft server, and then clarify I'm talking about data and not the Minecraft server.
Right, yeah, otherwise it would have just given you a very, very detailed like wiki, like the Minecraft wiki just dumped directly into your brain all at once.
I have to go, no, not the Minecraft.
I'm glad you specified. Yeah, and I think like this fragment of the data that's hosted in your Minecraft server backup, like one sort of sleepy hand sort of reaches out and like just like kind of, just barely touches this thing, and it just like kind of explodes out in a way that you can actually visualize and almost interact with this program. You realize that the way the architects sort of made their stuff, they were as much like virtual physical space as they are, lines of code that you press the enter button on. And I think this gives you, interestingly enough, I think it gives you some insight into how the city enclave functions. You realize you could, again, be sort of exploring this data for like centuries if you really wanted to get into the nitty gritty of it. But one thing about the city enclave, which is where you all came from, it's constantly shifting and constantly moving. And whenever you leave and come back, like it's different. It's hard to find the same location twice. And I think this is actually giving you some insight into more of like predicting the way this moves. And like just like towards the end, and when you're looking at this like map and sort of program, there's like this little hook, and like there's this hint of something buried deeper and deeper within this program about the actual fractal death machine itself, which as inhabitants of the tower and of the city enclave, like you all know this thing exists. Like maybe you've even had experience with it firsthand or have known people who do. It is just this physio virtual force that is just chasing the city enclave through the tower, and it consumes and converts everything into its path, into a more ascendant form, is what at least adherents to the various fringe fractal death machine cults might say. And buried somewhere within this is some like kernel of a truth about the nature of the fractal death machine.
Out in the real world, Crunchy is gonna do a little beep boop bop to kind of say, check this out, everyone. And just so that there could be the assumption that the information that they have just gathered is shared.
I'm a swarm of nanites necrotizing the outside of this thing's security program right now, but I will be very excited about it later.
What a cool sentence to say.
I say it every day.
Just when I wake up in the morning, I'll look in the mirror.
Daily affirmations. Yeah. I am a nanite swarm necrotizing
the cool. So I think at that point we like realize you've got good stuff out of this thing, which means I think I'm gonna whenever if you pull back, I'm gonna sludge off of this thing and flow back into my normal way of being. I not for any reason, Josh. Do we feel like we got away with this?
I think. I think you have the sense that you've probably gotten away with most of it. You've avoided a lot of the imminent dangers, but I think you can tell, one, let's say you wanted to access that kernel of truth about the fractal death machine here and now. That would be dangerous, right? I think in sort of a mimetic sense, either the fractal death machine or the monitors, they know when this sort of stuff is accessed, and that might alert them and bring them to your location. I think you have the sense that if you wanted to take this intelligence, this super intelligence with you somehow, one, the logistics of moving it, because it's still bigger than the regular blorb, might be a little difficult, but that will probably trigger something as well. So it's sort of like that sense, okay, we've filled our bags with 100 pounds of gold. Now we have to carry it out. Cool. And that's probably going to alert some people because it's big and noisy and, you know, the jangle of all of our gold coins.
My assumption is there's no way at this point that we're leaving Blorb behind.
I have a different thought.
Okay.
Which is that as the two of you pull sort of away from it, I'm like, somebody has to stay here to keep this dream intelligence literally plugged into Blorb, or Blorb's going to become a problem again. Which is to say that on that nat 20, I got my reformat ability back, and I think I'm going to reformat myself so I can just sort of permanently interface with Blorb. And this might be like a sort of sticky pingy annihilates their own form finally, the thing they've wanted, and sort of becomes one with Blorb, to help my friends get out of here a little more safely.
I'm into it. I'm not going to stop you.
Right. Yeah. That is something you could feasibly do.
Now I'm wondering if we should then try to take the sticky pingy or
look, sticky pingy makes their choices and then they don't have a say in what we do with their weird form anymore.
100%.
The idea sticky pingy being like, I'm going to annihilate myself, become one with the super intelligence orb in order to keep it here and, you know, allow you all to leave. And then the two of you do that, and the two of you are like, what if we took it with us?
Imagine your friend is like, I'll die to stay here. And you're just like, oh, they turned into a bird and I could just have that.
See, I didn't think of it that way.
The sheer disrespect. Like, okay, Sticky Pingy, that's cool and all, but I want the orb.
Yeah. I don't think Crunchy has verbalized any of this. Well, I don't even think that Crunchy knows that this is something that Sticky Pingy is.
So yeah, my question is, does Sticky Pingy do this?
Oh yeah, Sticky Pingy does this.
Okay.
Sticky Pingy is one with the orb.
What does it look like?
Yeah, I was about to ask.
I think the orb itself sort of reshapes into, instead of one big orb, a bunch of little orbs, sort of taking up a human-like shape.
Excellent.
They're still they still have a lot of mass to them.
To show respect for your sacrifice, Crunchy tosses some bit snacks to the new orbified Sticky Pingy.
These aren't Old Bay. What are they?
Mercury, I'm sorry. It's what they had on sale.
I mean, I was going to reshape my body to make it easy to carry all these things out. For a second, I think I'm tempted to be like, I could just have orb wheels instead of feet.
Imagine how fast you could
move. Useful tiny orbs.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like, if Tovu's really wanting to reshape their form, like, it will probably make the extraction with all of this stuff you've taken a lot easier than sort of retracing your steps all the way back.
I'm gonna kind of rearrange my form. So like we see my legs get like, there is on Netflix a Blame, a very weird restructuring of Blame to give it a little bit more of a plot narrative that is immediately evident. But one of the things that is like one of the characters does like reframe itself to give itself thick robot lady legs, which was just a very interesting choice. I think we see these like giant tree trunk legs form underneath me that are significantly stronger than my previous legs were. But we also see me grow up to being like 10 feet tall with kind of a concave on my back where we can load all this stuff. I always become thick whenever I get a chance to, real life and in games, become thick. And so
saying in this world,
yeah,
it's another
Another one of the sayings.
yeah, always become thick.
The commandments of the megastructure.
to pick up all the stuff that we need to carry back with us.
I have a question for Sticky Pingy, and it's how many orbs have you turned into at this point?
Oh, 69.
Nice.
Okay, great. Crunchy is going to, just very, very, very politely kind of gesture if Seven can have an orb.
Yeah, one orb floats away from what would be my hand into your hands.
As soon as Seven gets his orb, it's like, it's like in in a sci-fi comedy where there's one of those creatures that's really cute, and then as soon as it has food, suddenly like the fangs come out and its eyes get really wide and you see it devour, and it's disgusting. It's like in Galaxy Quest. It's like in Galaxy Quest with the tiny little creatures. That basically happens to Crunchy, where this this disk drive mouth unhinges and the tongue comes out and wraps around this orb so many times and then goes.
I assumed every time we saw you eat something that it was horrible to this point, but I'm glad that we have confirmed that in canon.
It's my precious, but like in beeps and boops.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the whole time there are these like grinding noises, but that's like the beeps and boops. But it's kind of like when you hear your computer make a sound that's like, oh, that's not good, but you have no idea what's happening in there. It's like that.
The high pitch.
Some fans are whirring.
Yeah, with the fans overworked, high pitched whining is coming out the back.
I don't think it's supposed to make those clunky noises. Yeah. What is the orb that was once part of Sticky Pingy, or what remains of Sticky Pingy? What does that taste like?
Oh, it's Old Bay. It wasn't a question. I'm so sorry. I'm going to answer that real fast.
Yeah, it's Old Bay.
But just a solid ball of Old Bay.
Yeah.
It's actually the human recipe memory from the ancients of how to mix your own Old Bay spice. So it also tastes like Old Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a genetic memory of what Old Bay would taste like if it still existed.
Which of course Crunchy is familiar with, having eaten Old Bay bit snacks.
Right.
So they're kind of like, oh, Old Bay.
This feels like the departure feels like a good stopping point. Like not even necessarily needing to make it back to the Enclave.
I feel like if this is the stopping point, then it's like in a cartoon where we get like the iris on Crunchy eating this orb, and then they go, and then it falls.
Yeah, and then we cut to the closing song for the show, which is totally off tone with what just happened. Like, it's deeply soulful and reflective. A lot of like low or a very high angle showing the stretch of things, like, Sticky Blorby, like standing on the edge of a sphere, watching its friends walk slowly away.
I think we see Sticky Fingy. Because I have one more ability I can use. I'm just going to reactivate the weird little teleporter door, just so you all have an easier way out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then waving. All of the orbs move at different speeds, so it's just sort of like a cloud of... You could tell I'm trying to wave.
So, you'll get better at it one day.
Yeah.
Practice.
And that feels like a really good place to stop. We're going to do our reaction roll. Reaction roll is a live stream inside of a live stream. It's our chance to sit down with the creator of a game we just played and talked about what it was like to play that game. Today, we are playing DeathGrind Megastructure. Also today, pre-sales for the physical edition of DeathGrind Megastructure. And I did say addiction, and that's fine. It's the physical addiction of DeathGrind Megastructure. You buy one, you're going to want to buy more. Go ahead and pick up a 5-pack for yourself and all your friends. You can go to ttrpg.link/DGMS in order to do that. But Josh just ran it for us. I had an absolute blast playing, as I knew I would, with this great crew. If you have any questions that you want to ask about DeathGrind Megastructure, Together We Go, any of that kind of stuff, feel free to go ahead and drop those things in the chat. If you're watching later, go ahead and drop them in the comments. We'll try to get you an answer no matter where you're asking. Let's hear from some of the other players real quick, what they thought, since Keegan is getting up to go ostensibly take care of something. Let's start with Alex. Alex, remind people who you are, where they can find you online, but most importantly, tell us what it was like to play DeathGrind Megastructure.
I will do all of those things. Who I am is Alex Kingsley at AlexQuest on Twitter and Itch, and I work with Strongbridge Productions. And here is how this felt, and it was fun, is how it felt, and I will elaborate on that. I am just such a I can't remember what words we're allowed to say on.
Keegan already used the one fuck we had, but I just said a second one. So you say whatever you want to.
Okay, I was going to say, I'm such a slut for transhumanism. I just love when there's the robots and there's the people and then you squish them together and it gets crazy. I just love that. I think it's so cool. I can never get enough of it. So the fact that that was so much just like built into the vibe was awesome. I also love, here's another thing I'm a slut for, is death. I love playing in worlds that just feel very hostile. But I feel like I'm so used to playing in these hostile worlds that are like dungeons, you know, because so many games are this very like high fantasy, oh, we're in a dungeon that's trying to kill you. So it was so cool to be in this kind of almost, dare I say, cyberpunk? Is that the right word? That's how it felt. I don't know if that's technically true.
I think it's definitely adjacent.
Yeah, like it's funny. Like I halfway through, I was like, "This is honestly." If somebody said I want to experience what cyber running is like, I would say this is 100% it. Like this is the best experience of cyber running, which isn't what we were doing, but like this is what it like. I always want the runner mechanics of when you're plugged into the net to feel like. And this game feels like that. It doesn't have the like real world fleshy parts of it necessarily in the same way, but. I literally had that same thought. Like this feels very cyberpunk but it's just in that kind of adjacent space.
Yeah, because I was like, it isn't technically, but it's adjacent. So that felt very cool to be in this world that's like. Also, I love this sense of. And this is just a narrative that whenever it's in anything I really like, oh, there were the ancient people and we don't understand what they did, but we are now living in what they created and are like trying to understand like that aspect, and that connected to like we're living in this hostile reality. That was just really cool. It was just a cool world to exist in. And that is why I had fun. Also, it was a fun group of players and a fun adventure. And we made a friend along the way who almost killed us, but didn't. So yeah.
Really great chat this time around also too.
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you have any questions you wanted to ask Josh besides is this cyberpunk?
You know, it's one of those things where like I did and now the questions are fleeing me. But here's one that I have in the meantime while I wait for the other questions to come back, and it's this. I had never heard of Blame, so but now I really want to like read Blame because I'm like, oh, this is really cool. Were there any other influences, things this was like kind of based upon or influenced by?
Yeah. I think honestly, it's like primarily Blame, or at like my half memory of. It's been a couple of years since I've reread it. I feel like a little bit of same writer, same artist also did a series called Biomega, which is also. After a point about megastructures in the billion-year future. So some of that probably snuck its way in there as I conflated the two a bit. But that was really the main influence. I was like, I want to do a Together We Go thing. And then I had the name popped into my head. I was like, okay, megastructures are cool. DeathGrind megastructure, let's go with that. And then just sort of filled it out from there. So, yeah.
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice.
Alex, if more of those questions come back to you, feel free to toss them out. In the meantime, Keegan, freshly returned. Why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, and what it was like to play DeathGrind megastructure?
Yeah, I'm Keegan. You can find me online at KeeganEXE or KeeganEXE.com. This was a lot of fun, though. This was a really cool group. This is a very fun game. For questions, were there any bits of this game you wanted to see that we didn't like explore, or like cool mechanics we missed using? It's surprisingly like a lot of game, despite like not having like a massive page count.
It's condensed, right?
Yeah.
Like I think we had sort of the perfect view of like half of the game, or like maybe 2/3 of the game, which is going out into the layers and seeing what happens. The layers are effectively the dungeons of DeathGrind megastructure, so we got to explore one kind. There are 3 other kinds included in the text as well, although it's not hard to just make up your own. The other sort of like phase of play is actually returning to the city enclave itself. So I know in Down We Go, there is the Infiniopolis. Is it? Infiniopolis. And there's different sections of it, which you can go to these sections and do different things. Very similar in DeathGrind megastructure. The city enclave has these different units, and each unit has a different function. But before you return to the city, you actually roll what the units are. So each time you come back from a dungeon, effectively, your home base is shifted around, and there might be a unit accessible that wasn't around last time. So there's like one where you can buy stuff, haggle, sell things. There's one where you can kind of rest and recover. You can look for special resources. There's one where you can actually like interact with the fractal death machine. There's a decay unit which has been taken over, and it's about to be like severed from the city enclave. Has a fun little mechanic of like you have a set amount of moments to spend in that area, and then each time you spend a moment, you either gain some, lose some, stuff happens. So it's less of like dungeon exploration, but there's still a lot of potential for exploring and doing stuff in the city. So
yeah.
Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, in Together We Go games that are fleshed out, because not every single one is, a lot of them have that kind of like downtime is you can do a lot in downtime if you want to, and it can be a session. You can also be like, we went back, we did the thing, all right, we're going back down to another layer now, which I really like that kind of interplay. But the units you did, as well as you did a number of like factions in the city too, which I find super enjoyable. And it is one of the things I love about the system. He said, as the person who did the development on the system, is how much you can pack in such a condensed space. And it's like the hardest thing to get writers to understand, like, no, you gave me 1,200 words, like I needed 120. And you did just such me. No, it's not. You're so always been good. Because part of it's like learning to pick the words. And Josh, like seeing your language choices in this, like I love that seriously, that like there are numerous times where like I'm gonna Google that to make sure what I think it is isn't just a thing, and also that I'm not missing a thing that could be really quickly, is a really fun thing. Also, I feel like each of us leaned into a couple different like types, and then the abilities we chose to kind of back up doing the thing we wanted to be able to do. I loved the flexibility of items as more of the adventuring gear concept in this one, which is a flex. And then that we didn't get to really see it play out, but the mechanic of monitor tracking, and when you ping them basically 6 times, they're going to show up, is a really cool piece. Like the fact that the city, the place you're going out into is aware of you, and there are bigger, badder things out there that will show up if you do it. And I think there's a really good distinction between like, here are hostile forces that you may run across just randomly. But once the monitors come, that's going to bring a lot of attention and a lot of badness. So keep an eye on that clock, basically, to make sure you don't do that. And that's something that you uniquely added to this setting that isn't in any other TWG games yet. And I really, really enjoy as a piece of content. This is like, I interviewed Adam recently. Like this is Adam Voss level of, you get to say a lot of good shit while you're playing this game. Like that is a thing that is, I think, a hallmark of his design style of like, what are the types of things you're going to say while you're playing this game. And this, and even in Vibe Check also too, like I love the stuff that I get to say while I'm playing, your games. But this one felt like properly and wonderfully unhinged. I think for me, that's kind of the thing I want to maybe focus in on a little bit. Like, as you were thinking about the abilities, you left like a lot of other TWG games are like, here's very specifically what this ability does, and yours is very much like, here's an indication of what this might do. Maybe you tell me. Tell me about that choice and kind of how you explored that within the space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it sort of happened like both on purpose and also accidental. It was the names of 3 of the classes were like some of the first things I wrote for the game, and then I just started brainstorming what might this thing be able to do. And looking, I had open like Through the Void, Down We Go, and Dungeon Delvers TV like as reference material like nearly the entire time I was writing this. And I do like the concrete abilities and things. I think they fit really well in that space of those games. I think partially also because I decided not to do like discrete dungeons with like dungeon rooms, that I was like, okay, I'm also going to lean into that ambiguity with the abilities, right? Of just, this is such a weird setting that any sort of like concrete interpretation I come up with in this moment will never be as cool as what the table interprets this to be in their own little version of DeathGrind megastructure. So like, and I think that's ultimately what I wanted to happen. Was so much of the game is just like, here's the thing, do something, and then you get to do something, and it's cool and it's fun and it's weird and it's wild. So it's a mix of giving permission to the table to just go buck wild, and also a practicality of writing in sort of this condensed space of like, I don't have the space to really define every single thing, and it just removes part of the fun, I think, of figuring out what it does.
Yeah, no, and I like, that's 100% the hope we have for these types of games, is like the table figuring out together. And I think you hit the writing of that just so keenly in the way you put this together, and the different pieces of tech that go into it. But like I said, the word choice and the language choice is super, super good. It's also like you used, we mentioned it earlier, Lone Archivist's vector kit, but it's just the layout on this is so incredibly solid and gorgeous. And it is a little bit mind bending to look at, which is what I literally can't wait to have it in physical form, where I can be like, this is on this page, this is on this page. It's not a spread. I'm not like I'm able to take it in that mode. I'm very, very excited about that. Sword Queen Ray asked this question over in chat. Do you have any ideas for future expansions on this game? You gonna write any more DeathGrind megastructure stuff?
Yeah, actually, like the past day or so, I had an idea of potentially expanding the layers a little bit, because the way they are now, it's sort of like the bare minimum of what you need to like throw things at players, which is effectively what I did. I rolled my D4. Okay, it's a brutalist. Here's my little list of things that can happen, and then just went from it. It was like 15 minutes of preparation, I think, for the stream. But I've been really interested in like procedural design of like, you have a bunch of like tables and things to roll on, and then that output informs the next set of things. So potentially something that expands the layers into like maybe a point crawl-esque thing, where you're either generating it as you go, or maybe you do a little bit ahead of time. I think just to give it more, just expanding what the layers are and what you can find inside them.
Cool.
So potentially it's swirling around in there.
Awesome. I had an absolute blast playing. And I think like Together We Go is also like share for Creative Commons share alike. If other people want to make stuff for DeathGrind Megastructure, are you down with that? Are you cool with that?
Absolutely. I would love to see what people could do given like this shallow foundation that I've laid. Just what people throw out the wall and see what sticks. I think would be super, super interesting, and how other people interpret this stuff. So absolutely.
So if you want to write the Blorb expansion, if you want to write the Art Nouveau layer, any of those types of things, if you want to make the comprehensive list of gender expansions for DeathGrind Megastructure, like now is your time. Grab the wheel and drive it like you stole it. Again, if people want to pick up a physical copy of this, they can head to ttrpg.link /DGMS, DeathGrind Megastructure, which will take you over to the +1 site. You can also pick up any of our games or bombs while you're there, but it's on pre-order right now, so it'll ship next month. We're going to give it a couple weeks for pre-orders, mainly just to make sure like we don't order 100 and need 200. And we'll have some in our store consistently, and then we'll have some over at Exalted Funeral for people who want to pick it up there once it's out in print as well. Anybody else have any final thoughts or questions that they want to share?
I don't think so.
With that said, a couple of things we have coming up next Tuesday. I'm interviewing Jason Morningstar from Bully Pulpit Games about Desperation, their new game, as well as Jason's other body of works. It's a last-minute stream, so I don't have a graphic for it yet. Next Wednesday is May the 4th, so we will be playing Galactic 2nd Edition Going Rogue. We played Galactic 2nd Edition last May the 4th. Somebody reminded me, Jess, the creator of Going Rogue. And so this may be becoming an ongoing tradition that we play Going Rogue on May 4th, which is my favorite way to tell Star Wars stories. I'm interviewing Jason Cordova about Brindlewood Bay and other great PBTA games over on Thursday. And we got other stuff happening next weekend, but who even knows at this point what that is? I mean, I do. It's in a calendar, but I don't have my brain wrapped around it yet. Again, if you want to go check that out, feel free to, as well as following all these amazing creators over on the social media platform of their choice. Until next time, we don't have a good way that we end streams, so we're all just going to wave at the camera until I take us offline. Oh, Keegan, say it out loud.
Okay, cool. We also have Blister City. It's my next Together We Go game on the 9th. That's another Cyberpunk one. So.
That is a good thing to let people know. So Together We Go is our house OSR system. It started with Down We Go by Marcus Linderum. I have Through the Void, which is the space version. This is the future DeathGrind Megastructure version. We had 36 people who submitted games and projects. Actually, I think it's 38 now. To the Together We Jam, you can go to ttrpg.link /TWJam. It's actually in the description of this video also. To look at all of those projects. We're going to be playing a bunch of those in May and June to showcase the amazing things that came out of that jam. Go check out the system if you want to. We would love to see other things that people create, not just for DeathGrind Megastructure, but for other things. Keegan, do you know what core system are we going to use to play that, or do we have to figure that out between now and the 9th?
Oh, there is a Together We Go system.
There is a set of roles.
I wrote a system specifically.
Cool, awesome. I'm very excited to step into Blister City, the streets of Mars, and that's going to be cyberpunk-ish as well. So I was hoping you were going to say GURP Cyberpunk, but it's fine if that's not what we're doing.
We can do GURP Cyberpunk if you want.
I don't think anybody has the time. I don't think anybody besides me has the time that they would need
in the next 9 days.
In the next 9 days to learn how to build a character in GURPS if they don't already know. Especially since we don't know who's playing that 100% with us yet too. I could make a GURPS character in 15 minutes. That's not hard. Other people, they would need the full 9 days in order to do it.
It's gonna be you and Ray apparently.
GURP Cyberpunk is the best. All right, we're gonna wave at the screen until I take us offline. Thanks everybody. Thanks Josh. We'll look forward to playing with you all again soon.